Ginger, you know what time it is?
No, what time is it?
It's about that time. Dear
About time
30
for
time.
Is it Dear 30 time?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, yes.
Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Oh, dude. That guy put in a bunch of time, and I freaking love when I was messaging that guy, just kind of like saying thank you for the stuff that he was doing. It was freaking amazing. I was very grateful with everything that he did.
Is he a local guy?
Honestly, I have no idea. I really don't.
Well, you don't sound like too good of a friend if you don't even know where he's from.
Well, I've never met the guy. I met him as a freelancer.
Well, that's all right. I mean, if you're happy with his work, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Well, Dan, do you have a good day today? You
Yeah,
seem
not
a
too
little
bad.
blue.
No, just trying to kick this cold.
Yeah. Like a head cold type thing?
Yeah, kind of in my throat. Feeling
Yeah.
it in my throat, in my chest a little bit. But I don't feel to be getting worse. So I think tomorrow will be closer to 100.
Yeah. Well, it'll be good news since tomorrow we're going to be taking the day off because we have a guest for Friday. So, nice little break. But did your kids get you sick? Because I know my kids get me sick. And
Chances are, yeah.
Yeah.
They had it worse than me though, the
Yeah.
last couple weeks. So what I have is minor compared to them,
Oh,
but
okay.
I expected it really.
Yeah. Every time I see my kid get sick, I like walk away from her. And she's like, Daddy, can I have a hug? No, you're just stay over there. You're
Yeah, they're only affectionate when they're sick or when they
Yeah.
want something.
Yeah. But then I'm a sucker and my daughter just looks at me and I'm like, yes, I'll pick you up. I love you. And the next thing I know, I look at her and she looks at me and she'll just go, I'm like, oh, thanks, right in my face.
Yep.
Well, we did have some news the other day about somebody also possibly joining the show. So
Yeah.
he
Well,
finally did get his stuff.
heck yeah. Let's see what he's got. Bring him on in.
Okay. I mean, do you really want to? I don't know if I want to bring the
I
guy in
mean,
on the show.
he can't be that bad. I mean, you've painted a pretty clear picture of him, so he
Yeah.
can't really get any worse in my book. He can only be better
Well,
because
I don't know. I've
you've
heard this
really
guy. I've heard him talk, and he doesn't sound the best. He almost sounds like a girl sometimes, and it's freaking annoying. So,
well, he's not a ginger, right?
no, it makes him even better.
Okay, well, good because I don't wanna be outnumbered by 2 of you guys. I won't be able to make fun of you anymore.
Okay, let's bring in the new guy. Oh,
What's
he's
going on,
yowling.
guys?
What's on, Sean?
What's going on?
Well, welcome, Sean Holmes, to the Whitetail Advantage podcast. How's it feel?
Oh, it feels amazing.
Yeah.
Feels
So,
amazing.
we had you
It feels
on.
amazing. It must be a day off then.
Oh, yeah. Completely a day off.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So, Sean, give us a quick little bio about you so everyone can kind of get to start to know you.
All right.
Just something off the dome, something quick.
Well, 35, married.
Wow, you're old.
I know. Old is the new young fucker. 35, married, got kids. I work in law enforcement. I'm also a firefighter.
Nice.
And
How
Yeah,
long?
what about hunting? Tell us about your hunting background or fishing.
Well, I used to fish before I had kids, aka I have kids. If my wife's watching, I'm sorry about that.
Yep.
Love fishing, spear fishing, ice fishing, bow hunting. I haven't really got into. I'm kind of new to the bow hunting side. When I was a young kid, I used to hunt a lot with my grandfather. When his property was sold, I lost that property, moved down here, bought 2.5 acres. Haven't found a new property yet, and that's my venture right now is try to find a new hunting property and hope to get back into the hunting game. I miss it.
Heck yeah. It's never too late to get into it.
No,
I found.
I'm not in the grave yet.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, I mentioned that you finally got all your stuff together.
Correct.
So what I mean by that is like you got all the equipment. You got some microphone stuff, it looks like. Yesterday you were just kind of talking off the phone. So what was it like kind of getting all the equipment that would
It was a lot. It
Yeah.
was trying to find the right stuff that's going to work for our podcast or you guys' podcast for me joining. But at the end, getting everything set up, it felt like, how do I say this? When you meet your first girl and pop your first cherry, I guess. Or you know what? No, let's rephrase that. When you get your first nice big 8-point buck.
Well, I haven't experienced that yet, but I aim to.
Yeah, there you go. I haven't yet, but we will.
Yeah.
So before I make this announcement about the show, your wife was understanding about you going out because it looks like you got some high tech quality stuff
Correct.
there.
Correct. So, wife was all about it. Talked to her about you guys' podcast. We watched it from the beginning. Loved everything about it. You know, you guys you're not sponsored as much. You're more of, the guy who works 12-hour shifts, 8-hour shifts, has the time, has a family, but finds that time to go out in nature, fish, hunt, squirrel hunt, duck hunt, anything to get away from society and get out in that nature and just enjoy life.
And so were both your wives, before I make this other announcement, both your wives understanding of what we're going to be doing with the new schedule wise?
Yeah. I went over everything with my wife and told her, she didn't have any concerns. She said, "Oh, that's kind of a lot." I said, "Yeah, well, I said we can't be different if we do what everybody else is doing." So,
Right.
100%.
like if we want to make it fun and, follow the dream to where this could be a job someday, then, we're not going to be able to get there, putting a bare minimal effort into it. So,
Right.
I'm sure there's going to be times like when football season comes around, I'll probably run into some issues because my son's practices, will interfere a little bit with it. But I mean,
Yeah.
we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I think having the three of us will make things better, where if one of us is absent, then the other two of us will be able to pick up the slack and, keep everything rolling.
Yeah.
100% agree.
So I like to just make this shout out to our wives. We couldn't do this without their support because it's just huge in the amount of support. So shout out to my wife, your wife, Sean, Dan. I've worked with her. I've known her for a long time now. And we just couldn't do this without their support and them being very understanding of what we kind of want to do and make this something cool. And so I just want to say thank you to the wives out there for us that we're very grateful for it. So
we'll see how much of a fan they are.
Yeah.
If they watch this. Yeah.
Hopefully it
Yeah.
gets us out of the doghouse if we ever put in.
Oh,
I-
I've always got one foot in that bitch.
Yeah. I got you
I
beat.
mean-
I got one leg.
I say that for one, because I truly do mean it, and two, because it's like, all right, how can I make them start to like me even more now? Like,
Yeah.
make sure Sean's wife's not mad at me, and Dan's wife's not mad at me. Like, you're taking my husband for how many days and nights? What? How dare you?
Yeah, no, it's not too hard. I
Yeah.
think it's a good time that it fits well with my family time, at least.
Yeah,
The littles are in bed, so As
Right.
long as they stay in bed and that they're not sick or whatnot, then yeah, this is pretty easy for me to slip out for a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So something that we're going to be doing different is, I think we've said it from the beginning, is we're not going to be doing the norm. We're not going to, we're going to be doing strictly live shows. You're going to see, uh, we see other shows when they produce those shows out there and those episodes, and it's all edited and it's smooth, it sounds smooth, it looks good, all this and that. No, you're gonna see the live action while we're talking about it, and you're gonna see those. Oh, we're talking about a story, and then wait, crap, where was I going with that story again? I just lose it. So you're gonna see those kind of fun things, but I think that's what's gonna be fun about it. And we're going to be creating our own norm. We didn't want this show to be following the norm. We wanted to make sure that we started this show and we were the norm breakers. So with that being said, we are going to be doing a live show Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Or I could shorten it up and just fucking said Sunday through Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Which, other words, Dan, what time was that?
Dear 30.
It's fucking near 30 time. And we're going to be at least generally going to be trying to push around 10 o'clock. As soon as 10 o'clock comes around, I know Sean, he's a big baby over there, so he wants to go cuddle in bed and make sure he sucks on his pacifier over there. But
Hey.
I'm
As
the
there's
same
whiskey
way.
involved.
Yeah, I find myself going to bed earlier and earlier as I get older.
I know. When I was growing up, I was like, man, I was a night owl. Don't get me wrong. I still like being up at night, and it's hard. I sleep. I have a problem with sleeping because my mind just constantly I get so many ideas like, ooh, I want to do this. I think of that. But now I just catch myself. It's like, I almost feel like an old man. Like, oh man, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, man. I just want to go to bed.
Yeah.
And just sleep sometimes.
After dinner, I'm about ready to, kick my feet up and relax for the night.
Yep.
I'm kind of in a little food coma, and I just try to slip on in
Yep.
to a deep
That's why
sleep.
That's why it took you forever. You were in a food coma for a little bit, weren't you?
Yeah. Yep.
Jeez.
Well, and we're still going to be following the game plan of we're going to be going to different states, at least mainly the states that cover whitetail deer hunting, from Alabama all the way down to Wyoming. I think the only states we did talk about in the first episode where we weren't covering Colorado, we actually going to be covering Colorado. The only states so far as of right now, we might slide them in later, but it was Alaska, Arizona, New Mexico, California, Oregon, Washington, and Utah, and Hawaii. And there's probably another one, but I'm missing, but I'm not sure. Nevada? Did I say Nevada?
I don't think you did.
I think that was probably the other one.
Okay.
But yeah. So we're going to be getting guests from each state and bringing them on, sharing their story, sharing their experience, sharing whatever they want to share, and kind of letting them have the spotlight. I think I don't care however this offends people, whatever, I don't give a shit. And we're not going to be going out and looking for those people that know how to, that so-called know how to shoot those 200-inch deer, because I guarantee you, those people that have access to that property of 80 plus acres, and they have food plots in, they have all that equipment, they have majority of that to do that. No, we want to talk to the average Joe hunter that say they shot a spike or they shot a doe for the first time, and they're not out there. No one's asking them to share their story. We want to ask those guys like, hey, you have a story to tell, and you feel like, man, this is something amazing. Come on the show and we'll share it for people, because we want you to feel like this is your show. I mean, yes, we're the ones, the hosts of the show, but for the people, this is your show.
100%. This is their show. Saying, we're just here to enjoy the ride.
Yep.
And ask good questions and enjoy the good stories with them, and share a couple too, from our own experiences.
Yep.
Everybody's
know,
got a good story.
Brad, I got a question.
Yeah.
These people that are watching us, they got ways to call in?
Yep. If people want to call into the show or they want to just kind of they want to join by video, uh let me post the phone number on there so people can call into my phone here and go from there. But as of right now, because we kind of changed this game plan, we kind of had a game plan going into it. Um then we kind of like, you know what, let's go with this other route, and we actually like this route a lot bit better. So we didn't have a guest plan for today, and I think I mentioned earlier we're not going to be going live tomorrow because we had a guest for Alabama on Friday.
Cool. Good way to close out the weekend. So yeah, we can just kind of talk. We can just talk hunting tonight. Based on one of the questions on there, the top one, we should chat about that. Get everybody's opinion on the crossbow.
That is a good question. What is my view on crossbows?
That's a good question.
It's I don't have a negative thing about crossbows. I don't use them only because I have the ability to still use a crossbow. I think when I get to the point in my, and I don't know why people say my hunting career. No, it's a lifestyle. It's just my hunting. When people say my hunting career, it's not a career. No, even if those people on those TV shows, whatever, and yeah, that's a hunting career because they're making those TV shows. That's different. No, I went completely weird on that, but I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
No, there's a bunch of different crossbows out there, and if you love shooting a crossbow, go for it. I don't have one bad thing to say about crossbows because my dad uses one. He had a hurt shoulder, and he used to. And me and my dad, we only use compound bows. We never hunt with a gun. And he recently had a hurt shoulder, and it affected him so bad that he just can't draw back a bow. So he's now using crossbow.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a perfect example of when it makes the most sense. I'm not for or against. I mean, I guess I would say I'm for crossbow hunting. I definitely think that the crossbow is a better weapon to kill a deer. It gives you a better chance, in my opinion. They're pretty impressive, like the technology that they have on them now. They're pretty capable machines. But I do think that some people use them for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I think that, that the able-bodied, healthy person who can completely operate a compound bow and just chooses to use the crossbow because they think it's easier. I'm not against it, but I just don't have as much respect, I guess, if you will.
I was just getting ready to say that myself. I
Yeah.
think you're taking the cheap way out of it. If you have the ability to draw back a bow, like you just said, I could agree with you 100%.
I think that it's like there's a time and place for it. Like, for example, like you talked about your dad's bad shoulder. Yeah, that makes sense. I've got a bad shoulder too.
Mhm.
I'm only pulling back 50 pounds on my bow. But I can do the 50 pounds, and that's why I want to continue to try to do it. I feel like that struggle and how difficult it is what makes it more fun. So that's why I like continuing to struggle with the compound bow. But I have shot a couple of crossbows, and man, they are pretty cool.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I agree with you. To me, a crossbow is somebody who possibly ill, very ill, or just is in a wheelchair or one of those motor scooters, can't get out hunting like they used to. They love hunting, but they can't draw back a bow. That's a perfect bow for them to go out. They can still hunt. with their grandson, their son, anybody, and they still can hunt because they don't have to draw it back. It's already drawn back. It's already ready to go. They just got to pull that trigger. Well, set it up, make sure they get the right buck that they want.
I will say this though. If you were tracking a deer, a true target, like one that you have your sight set on, and you keep getting close to him, but you just not getting in that shooting range for a compound.
Don't
And
you
if you had the privilege of having both weapons, that would be a hard one. It would be hard not to bring that crossbow when you're doing everything to try to track that deer and he's just not quite coming into range. I feel like that would be hard.
Dan,
That
you're
would be
about
hard to do.
Dan, you're making me want to hit this button for the next segment because
Oh,
you,
is it debate time?
Debate
Oh.
corner.
you made me hit the fucking button.
Oh, man.
do it.
Dan, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Why'd you go there?
I get your point on that, and I get where people were like, "Man, he's just out of range," and you've been putting in like a year or 2 years after this deer, and it's like, man, I just can't get. Say you're for me, my lethal range is 60 yards. I'm not going to shoot past 60 yards, and everything's got to be good. Like there can't be a lot of wind. It's got to be basically dead still for that in certain conditions. But if it's, and I'm probably pushing it with 60, it's got to be, like I said, everything's got to be freaking perfect. Nothing is in my way. It's open field. There's no wind. He's dead broadside. For someone to kind of, and that's just people that kind of use the debate. So like, that's why they use a gun. It's like, he's just out of range, but I've been wanting this deer so bad. For me, it's like, that's the challenge of archery season. And that's why I personally love archery season. That's why I only shoot with a bow, because I can tell you basically you show me every photo of every deer that I've taken, I can tell you from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed of the story about that deer, because it's so up close and personal with a bow. My grandma could take a gun and shoot a deer that's 200 yards away. And and I think using the crossbow I can understand why someone would use a crossbow in that regards.
It's tricky.
And I can see it. Yes, don't get me wrong, but that's just my viewpoint on it. To me, it's like, well, that's
I
the point of
respect
archery
that.
season.
It makes good sense. I see where you're coming from for sure.
Yeah.
Especially with you having, harvested a deer that you targeted, a deer that you had history with, and that, he gave you goo eyes from the first time you saw him, and that you were able to harvest that animal. I get it. It makes sense. And I agree with you. I like doing it with my compound too. And I don't own a crossbow, but I was just trying to be as honest as I could and think hypothetically, if I'm sitting in my stand and I got both, and a 180 walks out, and you can pick between the two, that's tough, because there probably are people that have multiple weapons when they go out there and hunt. So,
And everybody's got their opinions on what they want. Crossbow, compound bow. It's just what works for you. That's the problem. And like you said, Dan, some people take it for the easy way out. They don't want to take the time to learn how to use a compound bow. They don't want to take the time to go out and sight it, see how far they can shoot it, and all that stuff. I just want to go out and shoot. Now I'm a bow hunter. No, take the time, learn how to bow hunt. I mean, I've never bow hunted as much. I want to learn it, but to me, you got to learn it. In the law enforcement, firefighter, you got to learn to do the job. It doesn't just come easy.
I also think it's kind of like the family you grow up in, I guess. Like, for instance, the family I grew up in, it's kind of like you could say that almost with anything,
Mm.
with stuff passed down from generation to generation. That's just how I grew up, is
Yeah.
only shooting bows. And another family, they might use just crossbows or they might use them all. So that's just the way they got it. And then when they start thinking of their own ways, they're kind of they have their own family roots of what makes them believe that that's the correct way. And I'm not, I say correct way, but I don't mean that term. But that's how I grew up, was
Yeah.
only using a bow. So it's also now how we grow up and how you raise your next kid, and so on and so forth down the road.
I think a big thing for me with the crossbows is not so much is it right or wrong to use it. I don't really agree with the way that the hunting season is open for the crossbows, if that makes sense. Like I don't like that if you go and buy a crossbow come October 1st, you can start hunting. I feel like a lot of the people that are hunting with crossbows are gun hunters that just
Mhm.
want a bigger hunting season. So that's why they go out and get a crossbow. So that way they can go out when it used to be, it was only the archers who were out there, you
Yeah.
know, early season. And now when you're getting out to these chunks of land and it used to be in bow season where you wouldn't see anybody out there. Now you got all these other hunters out there. So that that's what I don't like is it seems like there's more people hunting during bow season, but there's not more people hunting with bows.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point.
Yeah.
that's the thing that I dislike the most about it. But like
I've
I
actually
said,
never thought of it that way, to be honest.
yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like me being new to it, like that was one of the things that appealed to me when I knew that I was going to start getting into hunting. I said, yeah, bow hunting seems like where it's at because I get a bigger season. I can get out there before all the gun hunters. Uh, I can kind of have an opportunity to chase, a big deer before these other guys go out there with their guns and, a more capable weapon. So, um, th- you know, uh, either way, it's not going to probably change in Michigan because we have an overpopulation of deer. You know, they probably figured if they opened it up to the crossbow guys that they'd thin out some of the deer herd, but it seems like Michigan, everybody's still chasing the antlers and they're not really into the deer management.
Yeah.
I what's his name? I'm trying to blank right now. I watch him on the Red Arrow. Kip Campbell, I think. Kip Campbell. He when Trump was making that saying like "Make America Great Again," he had a shirt that said "Make shooting does great again." I was like,
That's
"That's a
funny.
freaking genius!" Because I'm like, not only are people, everyone. You feel like nowadays with I cannot talk social media that if you're gonna be like trying to post stuff like your own like page and try to like create a hunting whatever, that you have to shoot those giant bucks to feel like you are worthy, I guess is the word I'm looking for, or credible.
Yeah.
But no, just go out there and my goal at the end of the day, and my wife was actually getting mad at me at one point because I was passing on some bucks, but it wasn't because I I didn't it wasn't because I felt that way, it's because I had history with these other deer that on my property that I hunt, and I've always liked having a history with a deer and wanting that, and she was getting mad at me because I had so many of the opportunities, but they're just like these smaller 8 pointers, but I knew these other ones were out there, and I was telling her that, I was like, "Yeah, I passed on this one, I passed on that one," and she's like, "Just get some fucking meat in the freezer." And I was like, "All right, fine." And then 2 days later, I shot the deer and I got meat in the freezer. So I was like, "All right, can I go after one of the ones that I want, or do I just go out there and shoot another deer?" She's like, "Okay, we got some meat, but you better get another one." I didn't, but I do, and I just think shooting doe, at least here in Michigan, it's just so freaking hard, man.
It
I don't
seems
know
like
what
it
it,
is for the mature ones.
Mhm.
even I don't care if they're babies or they're full grown adults. They are just so freaking smart in the state of Michigan. And I have an old family rule where if I see a doe, I gotta give it at least like 5 minutes or something to see if anything follows behind her, and if
Mm.
something does, like little fawns or little yearlings, it's a family law that they're officially now off limits. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it. I know most likely at that age, I think it was 6 to 10 weeks post birth that they are officially now allowed to be on their own. But I just don't feel comfortable doing it. So that's why we made it like a family law that we don't. And I've seen other does that are just out there by themselves, and I would have taken them, but they're so smart and I just don't get a chance to shoot them.
Yeah. Well, and then you got those people that they don't care. They just want to shoot something, put it in instead of sitting there waiting patiently.
Yeah.
You could shoot a doe that's small size, and then that big buck's right behind it. You don't know that. You don't know what's going on. That's why you got to do your research. You got to watch, put your cameras up, take time. It takes time.
It does. And I know Dan and I talked about this post show. So Dan, I go ahead and share your feelings on it, I guess the term I'm looking for.
On the
Like,
doves?
yeah, on the does, the shooting does here in the state of Michigan. Like, how do you feel like what you need to do for the game? And
Oh,
I agree
well,
with you on it. Don't get me
I
wrong. I agree with you on that.
I mean, I just like to state that I'm not the most, educated on deer biology or anything. I'm just basing everything off of, recent articles that have been published about the Michigan Deer Report, like the post hunting season report. It's just showing that there's a decline in hunters harvest. It's going down, and then the populations of deer are going up in the lower peninsula, and then in the upper peninsula, the deer population is going down due to predators. So it's just polar opposites. And before the hunting season started, the Michigan DNR released an article asking for an increase in does this year. They wanted more of the antlerless harvest report, and at the end of the season, they went down from last year. So definitely, I know that I did not shoot a doe this year, but I know that I intend to do my best to try to do my part, because I know that I want to hunt for the rest of my life, and I know that if uh, the deer population gets out of control, that I wouldn't put it past the government to take matters into their own hands, and it could impact our future of hunting, and I do not want that. I'd rather the hunters do their part in the woods to get the ecosystem operating ideally. But yeah, I didn't do my part last year. I did not harvest a doe, but I will this year. I
Yeah.
know for sure.
Yeah, that's my goal, is to at least take one. That's my goal. It's not like last year I was like, I saw does with the little ones. I just didn't have an opportunity to shoot at a doe.
I did. Yeah,
And-
I did. But one of the places that I hunt, I I was asked not to shoot does. So,
Oh.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to hunt there, and I follow the rules, because I want to hunt again. So,
Yeah.
I did not harvest any does there, but now that I've been given more access, yeah, Brett, Scrape City, there's going to be less does out there, because I'll be shooting at least one out there this year.
We're gonna be turning that place into not just Scrape City. It's gonna be what's bigger than a city. Drawing a blank.
Scrape Nation.
Yeah, Scrape Nation. There we go. We're gonna turn it into Scrape Nation.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Geez, Brett, you okay over there?
No, I don't know, because I was thinking when Dan made a point. He's like, he doesn't want the government to step in, and I've been hearing. I haven't looked further into it. I wish I have. that, and I know it is, but in some states, you're not allowed to hunt on like Sundays or certain days.
Mm.
And I think that's what the government put that into place, and I just think that's stupid.
I think that's like an old tradition, mainly just based on religion.
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah.
Sunday is the day for the Lord, and like we were talking to Jabbo last night, it's a little different down south.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think that would happen here, but like I could see them saying, "Hey, no, no deer season, until we get the herd under control, there's not going to be a deer season this year." Or,
Yeah.
you know, I've talked to old timers before that say, "Yeah, back in the 70s and the 80s, I'd hunt a whole season and only see a couple deer, you
Yeah.
know." And, I feel like I'd cry, if we were not able to hunt, or hunting was just unobtainable to
Mhm.
where we just weren't able to go out there. uh that would suck,
Yeah.
you know. That's why I treasure any deer that I have an opportunity to harvest, and I try not to get hung up in the competition side of it, because you never know when we may not be able to hunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could take that privilege away from us. I mean, I think it would be pretty extreme for it to happen, but I want to do whatever ensures that we're able to hunt for the rest of our days, and our children and their children.
Yeah.
So, being passionate about what we have to do as hunters to do our part so that the entire state is on track. uh, you know, that's what I want to do. I want to do my part.
Yeah. And Dan, I like how you said it. You know, this is a passion. This is the love of it's not, how do I say it? You're not being paid to go hunting. You're enjoying it. You're it's a passion for you. And if let's say government came in and said, "Hey, Brett, Sean, Dan, whitetail advantage, you guys can't go hunt." Okay, we're gonna go find somewhere else. But it's just like, where do people just stop enjoying it? You know, they just want to go out. Oh, I'm gonna just shoot the first buck I see, or shoot the first doe. Why? Like, enjoy nature, enjoy your catch. Like, when you get that, if you have the patience, it will come.
Yeah.
Every time it will come. But it just, people are in too much of a rush, and they just, I don't know. I'm just lost with words with that.
It's like having, a nice public beach that everybody loves going there and swimming, but certain people get complacent. They stop picking up their trash.
Mhm.
They start shitting and pissing in the water, and then there's E. coli problems. And then, the government gets involved and says, "Hey, we've been posting signs asking you guys to clean up after each other and not to pollute here," and so on and so forth. And
Yep.
now, because of it, because nobody's stepping up to self-police, now no more access. So, that's the way that I look at it. When the DNR is putting out these articles and they're asking for help from the hunters and what we need to do, I feel like if we neglect that for long enough, that we could pay a price. So
Yep.
Mhm.
I know that I'm, going to do my part to try to really, as I continue to get these accesses to hunt, I'm going to continue to try to manage that piece of land the best I can. And like we talked with Jabbo last night from Alabama, getting to establish that rapport with your property neighbors, uh, you know, that is how it'll have a bigger impact on, the entire state, and not just like, hey, this little corner of the county has a powerhouse because there's 10 landowners right next to each other that have an ideal habitat created. But,
Mm.
if we could do that for the entire state, then Michigan wouldn't be the laughing stock, of the Midwest when
Yeah.
it comes to whitetail deer hunting.
Well, and it doesn't help when DNRs just walk up on you because some people like to go out without proper license, make sure everything it's simple. It's just like driving a car. You need insurance, you need a license, proper plate, all that stuff. And people just want to go out and just shoot the first thing. I mean, yeah, we used to do that way back in the old days where we didn't need it, but come on, let's help out.
So I want to hit this button so bad. I really do. I gotta find this now. I gotta find it.
What,
real
the
quick.
football frenzy?
No,
Oh man,
I really want to go crack a beer now.
you want to go crack a beer? What kind of beer?
Oh, yeah. Campfire stories.
And speaking of that, I'm in my basement and it's cold. So I'm grabbing my blanket.
Oh,
I'm wearing my sweatshirt.
Hey, what's up, Landon? Landon's watching us, guys. My oldest son.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he's
Oh,
blowing
man.
up the feed.
Oh, Landon.
Landon, it's about bedtime, Bubba.
Landon, you go to bed.
Landon will probably make a guest appearance on Friday.
Oh,
On
that'll be
Friday?
nice.
Yeah, I'll have Landon on Friday, so I'll
Nice.
have him come down here with me and say hello to you guys.
Oh, I like that. Landon, keep watching, buddy. Subscribe, share, hit that notification button. But hey, listen to your dad and go to bed.
Yep.
But stay watching.
Oh, 9:30. Okay, he's got 18 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah,
Landon,
buddy.
you got 18 minutes. Go eat as many chocolates as you want. Don't tell you that.
Eat as much ice cream as you want. You did.
He's probably
If my
playing
kids are
Fortnite.
watching, don't do that.
But yeah, buddy, we're gonna have a good year hunting. We're gonna get you included. We'll have you tag along with us and do some shed hunting here pretty soon. So
We'll get everything set up out there. So, Landon, you can go out there and hunt out there with your dad.
That hunting with your kids, to our dads, when they came out hunting with us, you don't know what they were going through. And now we have kids and we're taking our kids out hunting. Just that look of if they get their first buck or their first doe, that excitement that they have on them, like just, I did it. And it just makes you, we're all grown men, but it makes you want to cry like a little baby. Like, man,
I'm
did
like that. I get really emotional whenever it comes to my kids or
Yeah.
even me. Like, I haven't got emotional really yet with one of my fuck ups out in the woods. Like,
Mhm.
I've contemplated doing a swan dive off of the tree stand before, but like I never cried. But I know
Don't mean to laugh, but you just caught me off guard.
no, but I know for sure that like when I get a real special buck someday that means a lot to me, I'll probably
Yeah.
cry like a baby.
Oh, yeah.
I've already accepted that, and even if I tried not to, it won't work.
No.
When I get really excited for good reason, yeah, the tears tend to pour.
When I got my first deer, because that's always going to be my number one until my kids get there, and that's years down the road because they're only like one's 3 and the other one's about to be 1. So I got a couple of years before that happens. But when I had my first one, and that, like I said, that's gonna be the number one. But I didn't cry. I think my dad, probably teared up after the fact when I wasn't around. But we were more just like, "Fuck yeah!" that type of thing. And I think that's just who we are,
Hmm.
and we get that's how we get emotional. And yeah,
For me, it'll be both. For me,
Yeah.
it would be disbelief, shock, and then crying, and then once it all hits me, that's when I will jump into that, hell yeah, let's rage and
yeah.
let's celebrate and let the party begin. But yeah, I mean, we'll have that this year.
Yeah. I got a good
Right around
topic
the
we can
corner.
talk about, Brett.
Yeah.
What's a story that we all have had growing up? Our grandparents or our fathers would bring us up to cabins the talks. You know, those talks that this is a guy thing. We're gonna talk about this. Don't tell your mom I just gave you a pack of smokes or gave you your first beer or your first Copenhagen or something.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What was your first talks? What do you guys remember?
Well, for me, I didn't really have like a deer camp type upbringing. My dad wasn't really around, so I was raised by a single mom. But my oldest friend that I've been buddies with since like second grade, uh, his family, we're all outdoorsmen, and I was over there like every weekend when we were kids, and they took me hunting for the first time, and that was kind of my exposure. And I shot my first deer with them when I was 16, and they took me morel hunting out there on the same property, so and duck hunting. So they kind of gave me a little taste into hunting. Uh, but yeah, I never been to like a traditional like deer camp or anything like that.
Looks like we're gonna have to take you, bro.
For me, I got two parts of it. My dad, we have a cabin. Well, it's in the family, my mom's side, a cabin up in the UP that my dad would always go with his best friend growing up as a kid, and they'd always go up there for 2 weeks in November. And no, it was not any Brokeback Mountain shit. At least that I know of.
Sure.
But I was always wanted to go, but then as soon as like high school came around, I was very into the sports. I got very dedicated into football. So he cut a lot of that time back, but I've always wanted to go up there with him. And I never got to, so I missed it. So, but one thing that we did have kind of like, I wouldn't say it was like a talk, but it was like what I felt was more of my first moment with my dad in the sense of, hey, this between you, his father and son, was he gave me, I can't remember exactly how old I was, but he gave me like a mini shot. I want to say it was like 16, 17 of hot damn. We were at a bonfire in our backyard, and I think my mom and sister went to bed, and we're just sitting out there, and he goes, "Here, take a little sip of this hot damn."
That'll put some lead in your pencil.
Yeah, no shit. But yeah, that was
He must have got it from Alabama.
Yeah.
That moonshine.
Yeah. So
Sean,
how'd you take it? Tell us about
dude,
how it went down.
sucked. Like as soon as it hit the tongue, I was like, it was disgusting. I couldn't do that crap. And I drink. I did.
You let your dad down that day.
What do you expect?
You take
It's
it
my
like a
first-
man. You
It was
chug
my
that shit.
first little shot, and it was just a little bit, and yeah,
I'm just kidding.
it was hot and it was cinnamony.
Yep.
And
It tastes like an atomic fireball.
oh gosh, it was like the devil just pissed in my mouth, and I was like, no, fuck this shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I can't take shots of Fireball.
To our age, Hot Damn was it in the 90s, and then now it's Fireball.
Yeah. And now it gives me heartburn though, and I feel old as shit because of it.
Oh,
because you
for
are
sure,
old.
dude. The older I get, the harder it is to drink.
Yeah.
Yep. I
Sean,
agree.
it was your question. So did you have a
Yeah. So I remember my grandfather. So same thing, Dan. I grew up without a father. It was just me and my mom, but I had almost like a father figure, grandfather, and my two uncles. They always went up to Baldwin. My grandfather and his buddy, who he went to school with, had a cabin up in Baldwin. I'm gonna tell you right now, being a young kid in the '80s, no TV sucked. But it was just nice getting away, listening at those old stories of when they used to hunt. Like you said, like the olden days. They always had them stories of the olden days, and I remember my grandfather I kept on seeing him put chew in his mouth or something in his mouth, and I'm like, what is he doing? And I ended up taking in. No, did not like it. Now I chew.
Yep. And then, do you happen to remember what the tree stands looked like if you were hunting out of tree stands?
We
back
never
there with
hunted
your
out
grandpa?
tree stands. My grandfather was not big on bow hunting. He was more on guns. He
Okay.
was not a bow hunter at all. I can tell you that 100%. My uncle Matt was, but I never went with him bow hunting.
I was just curious because I know that like a lot of the generation before us, or even 2 generations,
Mhm.
they built all their stands, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's cool walking through a piece of woods and finding an old stand
The old 2x4s nailed right
Yeah.
into the tree. And then
Yeah.
you're sitting there going like, where the fuck is that going to? There's nothing even fucking up there. And then you look up higher and there's a long chair. Like, man, they got fucking balls looking and sitting up that fucking.
Oh, yeah. And they didn't have the safety equipment, like,
Yeah.
they weren't hunting with climbing harnesses back
No.
then.
Now these days, I gotta spend thousands of dollars on this ladder and I gotta strap this down and yeah, fuck you. No, fuck you.
Yeah, that's how that's how the old timers were, man, like, they I I enjoy being around them when they're sharing their stories because it was just a different time.
Yeah.
I almost don't even
I mean,
have to talk. I can just sit back and listen to them.
well, I was always told you there to be seen, not heard, and you learn a lot by listening to those old timers. And the sad part is we're about to be old timers in our kids' lives.
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I did, since we're talking about stories, I did
Oh,
have
man.
this funny story. So when
Oh.
I was
I got one too.
I just started off hunting, I started off when I was 12 years old. And then I think it was 13, whatever. I don't know. I was young. I was afraid of the dark at the time. And my dad made me watch this movie called Pumpkinhead. And if you haven't seen the movie,
I've seen it.
that it's like this weird thing that they bring up from the dead. And it's like basically if someone killed someone that I loved, I would go to this witch. She would summon this devil, come
Oh.
up, kill these people, and then when it died, I would then be the person that became the new devil person, and she would bury me.
Oh.
And so my dad made me watch it, and like the Pumpkinhead 2 and Pumpkinhead 3. And of course, it's at nighttime and it's chasing you and killing you. And I'm thinking it's real. So next thing I know, and the good prime time to hunt is
Yeah.
like right at that last 30, 45-minute ballpark
Yeah.
when the sun's going down. That was when I was leaving my stand, going inside. And my dad was like, "What fucking time did you get in?" I'm like, "I got in at like 4:00." And then he's like, "Well, why? You weren't even out there for 20 minutes."
So
I was like, I just didn't, and I seriously said this, like, because I didn't want to be stuck out in the dark. I didn't know the property that well because I'm still learning it. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to get chased by pumpkinheads. So I got scared of the dark. And I was like, and anyone when I was out there for the slightest point of it being dark, I was constantly like, what was that noise? Pumpkinhead, fuck. And at points I got to booking it straight back to the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So what you're saying is
yeah.
you're afraid of this voice.
You know, I'm gonna suck your soul out of your ass.
No, man,
Yeah, basically.
or you know, what's your
That was-
favorite what's your favorite part to say, Dan?
my favorite what?
What's your favorite part in the beginning?
Of this
In the
show?
beginning of a show.
Dear 30 time.
How about we change it up to
You know what time it is? It's Dear 30, baby.
Hell yeah, Elvin. No,
Go
but
ahead,
I've been
Dan.
like, I would say that when I hunt, it's like a perfect storm of a mixed bag of emotions where part of me is excited, part of me feels like a badass, and then the other part of me is scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've found myself at times when it's pitch black and I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, and then I have to remind myself, like, wait a minute, you're the apex predator out here right now.
Exactly.
You've got a tooth of the arrow broadhead, you know, sitting on your lap. Like,
Yeah.
don't be a pussy. But
Were-
no, I've
Sam, were you
found
afraid about
myself.
clowns coming out of the woods?
What'd you say?
Were you afraid about the clowns coming out of the woods?
Clowns never were really one of the things that scared me. I tell
Yeah,
you,
but think about it. When the clowns were coming around, you're up in a tree stand, you look down and you see a clown looking at you. I would shit my pants after I shoot him.
I'd probably be more scared of clowns than Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead would be a fucking easy target to shoot his big fucking pumpkin head off.
Yeah, yeah.
Dan, I'm gonna put you in timeout. Okay, you're gonna go in the timeout corner with the cone.
Ooh,
Pumpkinhead.
time out.
That's funny. No, I got a good story for you guys. It's
All right.
It's not hunting related. It's a fishing story.
Okay. Well, here, let's do this. Let's do this.
Let's go fishing.
Oh yeah. Let's talk.
Yeah,
All
let's talk
right.
some fishing.
So, one of my other really good buddies that I grew up with, he's my big fishing buddy. Like, we always go out fishing handful of times every year. But one of the places that we went fishing a couple years ago, it was in the Allegan State Game area, and it's way back in the middle of nowhere. And there's a couple of like drainages that all kind of tie into the Kalamazoo River, and they're just loaded with pike. And we tend to fish back there every now and again. And we were fishing right on shore, and I ended up catching a bowfin dogfish.
Huh.
And I fucking hate dogfish. Like, I don't like handling them. Whenever you touch one, it looks like you just jerked off an elephant. Like, your hand is just dripping in slime. They've got fucking a mouthful of teeth. They're invasive. I don't like them. So anyway, I catch this dogfish, and he had my rod horsed pretty good because he kind of was acting really erratic right when I was trying to land him. Well, he ended up flopping around, and I accidentally reeled a couple cranks on my reel. So my rod was really horsed, and my crankbait broke free from the dogfish's mouth, and my buddy was standing right next to me. It came flying back like 100 miles an hour, and it hit him right in the face. And it knocked his glasses off. And I like look at him, and the fucking hook, he's got a hook in his nose.
Oh no.
And then he also has one up on his eye.
Oh,
And like,
What?
I felt like such the shittiest friend.
he
And
didn't
like,
pull it, did he?
I did.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. It gets better.
Oh
but-
fuck.
So anyway, I look at him, and I can see that he's like grabbing his face, and I can tell that he's starting to panic a little bit. And I look at him, I'm like, don't touch. And I look at the one up on his eyebrow. I got that one out, no problem. And then I saw that he had one in here in his nose. And I'm like messing with it, and I could tell that anytime I wiggled it at all, his eyes were just filling with water. Not like he was being a baby, but it's just that
Just that
really
natural
sensitive
reaction.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like if you ever had a zit in your nose or anything like that, if you just
Yeah.
touch it, man. But anyway, he gave me consent to do a hard tug. He said,
Oh.
dude, just fucking rip it out.
I don't like where this is gonna go.
Yeah, this is gonna hurt.
Yeah. So I tried. I gave it a good yank. I didn't give it everything I had because my gut instinct told me that the barb was just too far in. And yeah, I gave it a yank, and I saw like his whole nose like lift with it. like it was
Oh,
not going
shit.
anywhere.
Oh,
So I was like, fuck. So then I look in the roof of his mouth by raising up his lip, and you could see the hook. It was up through here. So it went through his nose and it had poked down into up here.
oh, his upper lip.
Yeah.
Oh my
And it was like,
gosh.
yeah, it was like by his teeth.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
And he couldn't feel that?
Oh, he could feel it. He was keeping his shit together better than I probably would have, but
Ooh.
it was in such a weird spot that I couldn't get any type of snips up there to cut it. So we had to go to the hospital. So
Well, I guess my question, why would he tell you to pull it if you only saw this, but he could feel it in there?
I don't think we put 2 and 2 together of how far deep it was until I
Oh.
had that first failed
Yeah.
attempt.
Oh,
Once
okay.
I tried doing that first one, because the one in his brow was not bad at all. I got that right out, and I think that we assumed that the one in
Just
his
pulled the other one
nostril
out.
might be easy as well.
Yeah.
And it was bad. And yeah, we had to go into Plainwell to Ascension. Luckily, it was like a Sunday afternoon and there was nobody there. So the staff was like making fun of us because we walk in and my buddy's got my fucking crankbait just chilling on his beak. And once I knew that he was in good hands, I kind of started to haze him a little bit. And I was asking the doctor for my crankbait back and stuff like that. But it took a
Of
while.
course you would.
It took a while, and I felt really bad for my buddy. I'm surprised he's still my friend, to be honest with you.
Doctor, he's still your friend after you hurt him.
That's how I know he's my best friend, you
Yeah,
know?
there you go.
If you can hook your buddy in the face with a crankbait,
Right.
yeah. But I mean, it can happen, you know, that shit happens. I think I would have felt really like a piece of shit if I did it during a cast.
Oh yeah, that would have hurt more.
Yeah, if I did it during the cast, I'd be like, okay, you're just an amateur. But you know,
Yeah.
I was not fishing for bowfin, and I hooked into him on an ultralight, so there wasn't really a whole lot I could do to not have my rod horsed, you know.
Yeah.
So
Dang.
shit happens, but yeah, fuck that dogfish.
Fuck him.
Oh my gosh. That just
They get huge though. I do like to shoot them when I go bow fishing.
I've never been.
Oh.
That's always been something I've always wanted to do,
You've
but
never
never
been
done.
bow
Oh,
fishing?
I can
Nah.
set that up for you.
Oh
Yeah?
man.
Yeah, my buddy, another one of my childhood buddies, and he's also one of my hunting mentors. I bought my bow from his dad. He's big into bow hunting or bow fishing, sorry, and
Uh-huh.
bow hunting, but he's got like he does tournaments. So he does like competitive bow fishing where he's doing like big tournaments in Saginaw and all over Michigan.
Yeah.
But his setup is badass, man. I've went out with him a few times, and dude, it's fun.
It sounds like a blast.
Oh, if
Oh,
you're
dude.
passionate for archery and target shooting deer, anything, if you love anything about a bow, I bet money that bow fishing will change your life. I
Oh, yeah.
guarantee.
And the adrenaline when you get them. Oh my gosh. I've done that a couple times and whoo.
I think also it'll make you a better, like, the skills that you can pick up in bow fishing will translate to killing a deer.
Yeah.
Because you have to think on the fly, you have to take quick shots, you have to make a lot of adjustments. It makes you pretty much get better at just kind of shooting freely without a sight and just feeling your bow and just kind of getting a feel for it.
Yep.
Granted, you aren't taking 60-yard shots, but
No.
it's a good time, dude. I'll make sure that we get that set up in the springtime to where we can go out one night.
Maybe
Oh,
we
yeah.
can get probably be best we get a photo of that and put that on the page.
Oh yeah, we could probably do a whole episode where we talk about it. It's fun.
Dan, here's a question for you.
Crankbait? Crankbait is a fishing lure. It's like I think they make soft and hard crankbaits, but I fish hard crankbaits. They're usually a couple inches long, and they just replicate a fish. It looks just like a fish, and they shake and they disperse the water. So they work really good at getting the fish's attention. And they all have a bill at the front end of the lure, and they sell them in a bunch of different variations, which dictate the depth of where they travel in the water. So if you know where you're fishing and like the target range that you want to try to catch these fish, usually right on the box of the crankbait, it'll say dives 3 to 6 feet.
Mm.
You know, if you know that the weeds are about at 8 feet down, usually keeping it right above the weeds is what I try to always do.
So that
So,
bill in the front
yep,
determines the depth of it. I
yep,
always wonder what that piece is.
yep. So you'll see different variations where you'll have a square bill, and then they have a rounded bill, and it all changes how they
How they move in
swim.
the water.
Yep, and then the depth,
Yep.
and then they add a lot of different things. Most
Yeah.
crankbaits will have like a rattle in them as well. So pretty much what they do, they look like a fish, and they they make noise, and they move the water. So they
They're
work
good for
really good
bass
at
too.
getting a reaction strike. And yep, like Sean said, they're a good lure to learn how to cast with, because
Mhm.
you can really send them.
You said soft and hard. What is
So
like a
the
soft one,
body,
like one of those? Oh, the body.
yeah. So like the actual material. So like most of the crankbaits that I use are like a hard plastic, and like you could knock on it.
Uh-huh.
But they also make soft plastic crankbaits too. But
Okay.
I don't know, it doesn't really feel like a crankbait to me. It kind of feels more like a swim bait.
Yeah.
But yeah, crankbaits are good. I like to use crankbaits a lot in the spring.
Well, soft bait, you're screwed on it if you get caught on something easily to break than the hard bait.
Mhm.
Because the hard bait one, you can use it if you get caught on a tree or something, yank on it. Let's say you break your line, you get it right back. But soft one, you break it, you're breaking the whole thing.
Yep. Yeah, usually crankbaits will float back up.
Yeah.
Float back up to the surface.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good lure. I like
I've
using them.
I've seen, because I like watching the Major League Fishing show. It seems like everyone there is just using crankbaits.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously they're after bass.
Well,
I guess that answered my own question there.
You
yeah,
did.
well, what a lot of those pros do is they'll have 10 rods, like 5, 6, up to 10 rods, all rigged up with a different lure.
Okay.
And instead of them cutting their line and tying up a new lure, they just put that rod down and they grab a different rod.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah, most professional bass fishermen, they've got a crankbait on one
Oh,
of
yeah.
their rods for sure. And then another
Especially-
thing is the chatterbait.
Oh,
The chatterbait is a real big one.
I've heard those. I
was-
think I bought some. I'm not 100% sure.
They've been more popular over like the last 5 to 10 years. The last couple years, they've really picked up popularity. And because of how popular they were, it kind of made me not want to try them,
Uh-huh.
because it was like all everybody was talking about. And I tend to not do what everybody else is doing.
do your own
But
thing.
when I got my first chatterbait, I was like, okay, I see why everybody likes these.
Yeah.
They do work. The last couple years that I have fished, my profile picture there on Facebook, I caught that on a chatterbait.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that was
Wow.
an early. That I caught that fish on Easter Sunday.
Oh,
It was the only fish. It was the only bite that I had for the entire day, and it was 5 minutes before I came in, and I caught it on a chatterbait that had a 5-inch swim bait trailer, attached to it.
uh-huh.
So, the lure itself was about this big, and yeah, big
Huh.
baits catch big fish.
It's like the
Yep.
saying, the bigger the antlers, like when you rack them in, the bigger the deer is going to come in.
Oh, I haven't heard that, but it makes sense.
I've never been one to rattle, but that's just the deer where I hunt. They don't
I
generally fall for that type of shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never have either, but I did this year. Um, I was the first time I ever did a snort wheeze. Um, last year I didn't. Last year I had a couple bucks that were passing through, and I wanted to try to see if I could get them to come back. And I did grunt a couple times last year, and it didn't really do shit. But
Yeah.
I watched some YouTube videos on the snort wheeze and when to do it and why to do it. And I tried a couple of those this year, and they were successful. So that was really cool to see that, to try it and to see it work. That was definitely one of the highlights of my learning that I did this year.
I do want to ask, since we got like 15, 20-ish minutes, still got a good conversation to go, but what is one goal that you want to kind of achieve or that you're looking to accomplish for this upcoming hunting season?
Um, I guess that the two big goals that I have, the one that we already kind of talked about earlier, is doing my part to help the state of Michigan and, trying to manage the deer herd. So trying to thin out some does. That's definitely one of my goals. And just to continue to stay involved with any of the posts that DNR puts out asking for our help as the hunters. I want to stay involved in that. So that's one goal. And then the other one is just to learn more. I
Yeah.
want to say, yeah, I want to shoot a 150, but it kind of goes,
That's given. Everyone
yeah,
wants
it kind of
that.
goes
Yeah,
against like what we're trying to create here. And
Yeah.
and I think I'd be doing myself a disservice.
Hmm.
So really, yeah, I want a 150, and if one comes out, I'm doing everything I can to kill his ass. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, uh, next year at this time, if I can look back and say that, man, I soaked up a bunch of knowledge, and I'm better prepared now when I go into the woods. That's my biggest goal. I just want to learn more and feel like I'm a more knowledgeable outdoorsman a year from now. Considerably more knowledgeable than what I am today.
Yeah. Sean, how about you?
You know what? What Dan said, he hit it right on the top. I agree with Dan. Same thing. I want to learn more on bow hunting. I want to get into more bow hunting, learn the whole aspect from them, how to properly pretty much sight it in, how to do it, pick the right ones, what's the good ones, what's the bad ones, learn more, and then teach my
Yeah.
kids and hopefully find property that I can hunt and get that courage to ask homeowners to allow me to hunt.
Well, you said it the other day. You have a big chunk of land behind your
Yeah,
house.
600 acres behind me. Nothing but open fields and everything.
Well, if anything, we can try and get all three of us on Scrape City. Well, it's right now it's Scrape City, but we'll eventually turn it into Scrape
Yeah,
Nation.
that's.
Yeah.
What about you, Brett?
Yeah. My goal is to try something different for this hunting season, and I haven't figured out what that difference is going to be yet for this year, because it seems like, all right, I go out there and this is where I've kind of just generally been. I want to see if I can implement something new and kind of take more of a risk out there than just kind of playing it safe. And I know how the deer operate where I generally hunt on my property, but I want to really see what are the boundaries that I can push out there. Like how close can I get to this bed? Um, is there anything different that I can try and really push the envelope this year? And yeah, it's learning something new, but it's also at the same time, how can I make something different this year and get out of my comfort zone? That's what I really want to see to push myself forward, and that's one of them. Is I constantly read biology about deer. That's something I just love doing as a hobby, and I want to see how I can use that to push my out of my comfort zone with hunting.
That's a good goal.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good go.
Yeah, and just kind of to go back to what Sean said, yeah, I'd like to mimic that. I feel like I have a lot of room for improvement with my knowledge for my bow and just bows in general. I kind of have a sense of not fear, but like I'm not extremely comfortable messing with my bow. I feel like I have to baby it and make sure nothing goes wrong with it. And I kind of want to get more knowledgeable with my bow to where I feel comfortable if anything happens, to where I can diagnose it and fix it in the field and just be one with my bow. Where right now I still feel like I'm getting to know it.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
I want to put in a lot more time with my bow this year.
that's a good goal.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah, I
very
like
good
that
go.
too.
I like that one too.
Yeah,
Like I
I
haven't even completely sighted in my sight yet. I mean, it's ready to kill, which is why I hunted with it. But like I don't even have the finished sight tape on it because I haven't even shot it, you know, far
yeah,
yet. And I think because I had a little fatigue in my shoulder every time I was trying to sight it in. So
Mm.
I kind of just got it dialed in, up to 40 and stopped messing with it because I knew that I wasn't going to take a shot beyond that in the field. But
Mm.
Mm,
in the off season this year, I really want to get together with you guys and tinker with it and just get it completely dialed in. I've also been flirting the idea with going to Shoepex and putting one on layaway and having a new
uh,
bow for the season next year
There you
or
go.
this year
yeah,
because
that's what I'm
the
getting is the new Matthews
that's
Lift.
what I've
Mm.
been looking at.
Yeah,
I mean,
that thing just looks
I like
beautiful.
Hoyt.
And I have a prime bow for sale.
How
I
much?
think
How much for sale?
Yeah, how much you selling it for our viewers? Maybe they want to buy it.
I'm actually getting a pretty good deal on it
Yeah,
because I just want someone to have a good bow to hunt. I think I would probably know I wouldn't go lower than 300.
that's not bad.
that's
Yeah.
what I bought my bow for.
It's a brand new 2018 prime bow it hasn't even been out of the wrapping.
Dang.
That's how new this thing is. And
You bought it just
I,
and you never got around to setting it up.
no, I bought it from my dad, but that's when he hurt his shoulder.
Oh,
So then he felt bad because I put a lot of time into trying to figure this out and kind of surprise him. But then he still had his old bow, and he was having trouble with that one. So he's like, I don't want to mess that up. And he's very grateful for it. But he's like, I don't want to hurt anything with that bow just in case I physically can't draw back a bow anymore. And eventually he didn't mess up his bow, but he just couldn't do it anymore. And I think so. Yeah, that's basically the story behind
Yeah.
that thing. And yeah, Dad, knowing your bow, I love having a bow. And I actually went to PSE archery school for a 3-day thing down in Arizona. They taught you how to be an archery technician and an archery coach and a shooter coach. And the technician part was what I really wanted to learn the most. And I got some knowledge out of it, but not a whole lot.
yeah. Like if I have an issue with like my sight, what I
Yeah.
do is I stop hunting and I ask one of my buddies, or I go to YouTube and like I said to myself, like, I think that you need to put in a little bit more time and be able to solve these problems yourself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of my goals, just to get more familiar with my equipment.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do wish I had my own bow press down here. And I've been looking at this one. I get a lot of my tools for archery stuff through Last Chance Archery, and I just haven't had the money yet to kind of get one of those bow presses from them. But that's been like my number one, so I can finally officially work on my own bow or work on bows for my friends. So I can have it right down here in my studio, workshop, stuff like that. That's always been something I've been wanting to get, but the one I want and everything I want to get, because I can't just buy one thing and slowly work up to getting
Yeah.
everything. No, it's either all right. I look at everything. This is everything I'm going to want / need,
Mm.
and I can't. I gotta have it all right
Yeah.
now. I can't just get one piece at a time.
That sound like this morning.
Yeah, it sounds like you going. Which, by the way, thanks to the guy at the Guitar Center for helping you
Yeah.
out for that, and you, Dan.
Yep.
I mean, heck,
Hey, well, I'm glad that, the dude didn't feed me a line of shit, and
No.
that he was sincere and he got you hooked up.
Yeah, the guy I talked to at Guitar Center, he was the owner of the company, and he said if we ever need anything, he's our guy. He'll help us out.
It makes sense. I mean, I'd rather support Guitar Center than Best Buy,
Oh yeah.
as bad as that
100%.
sounds. But, I think it's
Yeah.
more badass that we're getting shit from a Guitar Center than Best Buy.
Whoa.
and I honestly never even thought of getting anything from Guitar
Yeah.
Center. And one thing I do want to get is a lot of these foam paddings, because right where I'm at, my master bedroom is right above me, so I put a lot of the foam paddings that I have so far on the ceiling. So I want to make sure that's like really soundproof, so I don't have to like help. I literally can take the mindset of me. I will not keep them awake in any
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But I have asked my wife before, like, can you hear me down there? She's like, no, not really.
Well, that's good. That's a good sign.
That is a good sound.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one thing I do want to get more is that.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
Well, we're kind of hitting that little moment where we're all just kind of like,
Nah.
yeah, just meh. Is there any? I guess we can just end it a little early tonight. I don't like that, but whatever.
No.
It is.
But
It
you
is
know
what
what?
it
We had-
is.
You know what, Brett? We had some really good comments today on this show. I mean,
Yeah, we did.
it was good. We had some good laughs. No cries, thank God. But
No, I
we had
didn't
some
cry.
really good comments and all that. And hopefully our viewers that are watching us, they give us more comments, or we get some phone calls coming in. And hopefully soon we'll start doing some live videos of us hunting down the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited to start shooting again and getting out in the woods.
You better work out that arm so your arm don't hurt.
Yeah. It's a couple shots. A couple shots don't bother me. It's like as soon as I do about 10, as soon as I shoot about 10 arrows is when I'm starting to feel it. Like and
Well-
it's not like pain to where it keeps me out of it, but
Yeah.
it's fatigue that starts altering my accuracy.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to stop shooting because I don't know, I'm not shooting true.
Yeah.
But like pretty consistently the first few shots I'm dialed, and I know that that's how it is in the field too.
Mm.
I'm not going to have that deer come out and say, hey bud, just chill right there, let me warm up and make sure I'm shooting a tight group, and then I'll be back with you in a minute.
Yep.
Like
Or-
it's-
Or that deer
Yeah.
will sit there and be like, hey man, move it a little bit to the left a little bit, a couple center down. Hey, I'm gonna just stand right here. You got me all right in center. Okay.
Yeah.
And then not sending you that text message like everybody else does.
so usually that's been the hard part for me with getting my bow completely sighted in at range, is that I feel like it takes more than 10 shots,
Yeah.
that I really got to kind of put several into it. And
Well,
as soon
hopefully
as
you
I'm
never have to
about,
put 10 shots in.
yeah, but I also, because I had that hunting trip down to Ohio last weekend where I hunted from a blind.
Mm.
I'm probably going to be going back there again at some point, and that opened my eyes that I need to start practicing from the seated position too.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I plan on implementing this year. And if I find that my shoulder doesn't fatigue as much from a seated position, then I might adapt that going forward as like my primary way.
Mm.
I primarily only shoot seated because I feel like you're more grounded. Granted, the one time that I shot fish hook, I was standing, but sometimes I will stand up, like in my tree stand. I kind of like stretch out my legs because you kind of get tired of sitting all
yeah.
day
Mm-mm.
or sitting for a short for times in that tree stand and you can't move. So I'll stand up sometimes to kind of stretch my legs, and it just so happened at that moment when I was standing that it was rut and everything's moving.
Yeah.
So I had to improvise. But I do like shooting from the seated position because I feel like you're more centered. You feel more control.
Yeah.
You feel more relaxed. I think there's a lot less things can go on from when you're standing.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, and I don't have a problem from shooting standing, and I have no pros and cons to anyway. Well, I guess for me, just the bigger pro is shooting from seated position because you're more comfortable, you're more relaxed, and I guess that's just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. No, I mean, my first deer that I shot was from a seated position, and it was probably the best shot placement that I've had so far.
Mm.
And she was
Yeah.
on to me. Like, I don't know how I killed that doe. Like
Huh.
she knew I was there, and
Mm.
I got
Yeah.
lucky. I kept on trying to stand to draw on her, and she kept on looking up at me. So I stayed seated, and I just pulled it back, and I said, "If this feels good, I'm gonna send it," and it did. But I never practiced that, and I haven't done it
Yeah.
again. So uh, I think that's something that I'll probably dabble with in the off season as well.
Mm. You know, Brett, before we get off, I remember yesterday episode you brought up about when you're bow hunting, you're sitting in that stand. One guy from Alabama said that he likes to read the Bible. You like to do solitaire. Dan, you never said what you like to do when you're out hunting.
Well, I really don't spend a whole lot of time on my phone,
Mm.
just because every time I think about it, I hear Brett's voice in the back of my head, my other hunting mentor saying, "What the fuck are you doing? Pay
Yeah.
attention, be in the moment, enjoy nature." So I try not to be on my phone,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I do. If I get in early in the morning, it has appeared to be a little bit of a tradition for me that I take a little cat nap
Yeah.
because
Mm.
I get anxious. Like, man, I wonder what I'm gonna see. Let me take a nap until about 5 minutes before first light, and so that way I can hurry up and get to the good shit.
Mm.
So that's kind of what I like to do. I like to just get nice and
Yeah.
comfy in there and make up. I kind of trick myself into believing that I hit the snooze button a couple more times that morning because that's always half the battle is just getting up. And then when you're driving there and you still haven't really woke up, you're like, God damn it. Like, I'm miserable. Like, I should just turn around and go home and go to bed. So once I get up in the tree stand, I kind of treat myself like, okay, you're fucking here. You're in the fight. Rest your eyes a little
Yeah.
bit and get ready.
Yeah.
So that way you can really be in the moment as soon as the sun comes up.
And I think the reason I was saying that I do play solitary is because that kind of like, I don't, in a weird way, because I have so much that I'm thinking on the drive to my parents' house, and I'm thinking a bunch of stuff walking out to my stand, playing that quick 10-minute little game of solitary as soon as I got my stuff in, and I sit down there for that second, like 10 minutes. And to me, like I said, that's why it's my guilty little pleasures, because it winds me down for a second because I'm just so amped of going out there hunting. It kind of centers me back down, but it also at the same time, it gets my mind thinking like, all right, what if a deer? Because I start thinking of situations of all right, what if this deer comes from over there? What about this? So it kind of like it calms me down and it allows me to start thinking of situations of a deer of what can happen. And I start trying to figure out, all right, if a deer comes from here and it positions himself over there, how would I make a shot off? And I just start thinking of these random scenarios in my head. And that's how I start my day and start my time in the stand.
I feel like anything important that we do and that we take serious, any type of ritual that you have that works for you, stick to it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like it's all it is.
Yeah.
It's your hunting ritual. It's something that you find works for you, and you're a proven hunter. So I say keep fucking doing it. You know, I've also noticed it's not something that I do, but in a lot of these hunting videos that I see a lot of people like to do like a practice draw where they pull their bow back and they kind of look through all their shooting lanes. Like it seems like a lot of people do that when they're in their tree stand right after they get everything set up. I don't. That's something that I don't do, but I feel like a lot of people, that's part of their ritual.
Yeah.
So I'm honestly, I'm still forming mine.
Yeah.
You know,
it comes because you try different things here and there.
I'm figuring out the things that I like to do, and what I don't like to do.
We can make that I'm gonna make a note.
Put that on the next job.
Hunting rituals.
Yeah. That
make a
could
little-
be another debate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Well, it is 10:02. We'll go out with this. Sean, any lasting words before the end of the night? Well, then we'll go to Dan, and then I'll close it out.
Oh, lasting words. The biggest thing is always stick with your ways that you've done stuff. You're never too old to learn new things. And hopefully this show will help people feel more comfortable on, they're not expert. Not everybody's expert. We work all day, but we still find the time to go out hunting. So I hope some people get out of this and enjoy our show.
Yeah, pretty much. The only thing that I'd like to say is just thank you guys for chatting with me tonight and taking time away from your families. Just anybody listening, get out there and hunt. Just get out there in the outdoors and try doing fun stuff, man. During this time of year, I feel like it's really easy for the seasonal depression to set in. We can't hunt. It's not sunny outside. There's no ice anymore. So there's really not a whole lot of stuff that us outdoorsmen can do, but talking about it and just putting your plans together for what you want to achieve this year. It makes it fun. It cures that hunger for me, at least. So I encourage everybody else to do that. And feel free to reach out to us.
That was some good points, guys. Yeah, I agree with you guys 100% on that. And thank you guys for everyone for watching. We will be taking tomorrow off to kind of regroup on everything. And because we did kind of make a quick adjustment on this, but we will be back at it on Friday. That's going to be February 2nd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Please, if you get the opportunity, if you get a chance to subscribe, follow, tag us, whatever, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I really just want to say thanks to everyone for watching and thanks for tuning in the show. And like we said from the beginning, this is something new. We're trying to break the norm. We want this to be your show. We are the hosts of the show and it's our platform, but it's your platform. We want this to be for you guys. Keep saying those comments, questions, concerns, whatever it may be. And I'm just looking forward to this thing, man. I'm looking forward to the next episode already.
I can't wait. Is it Friday yet?
Gosh, now I'm just gonna play the outro, man. It's the faster we can get there, the better, man.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.